Britain is turning into a multicultural powder keg. Some think it already is one, but what we can't deny is that the adverse effects of a particularly bad multiculturalist experiment become more and more visible. And we're constantly exposed to very horrific news and also have the feeling that the government doesn't protect us anymore and that it should do much more in order to protect us. And we see particularly bad outcomes such as less freedom, less safety, increased social strife, and the perceived necessity for a very large state that is going to oversee some social tension that shouldn't be there in the first place. Let's be fair. We are exposed to very horrific news, and there are establishmentarian voices who are trying to divert our attention from the elephant in the room. But the more the adverse effects of Britain's multiculturalist experiment, which is failing, become visible, the more this will be visible and the more difficult it will be to hide. We have a post here by the LBC. They have an article and they title it, "Two Men Accused of Kidnapping, Strangling and Raping 12-year-old Girl in UK Town." That was in Warwickshire. And the first thing that you can see from this title is who gets the blame? The entire male population. That's why we're going to have the establishment now telling us that basically we need to watch more adolescents and we need to stop thinking about the bad effects of mass migration and stop criticizing it, as opposed to actually stare reality in the face and do something about it. Now let's see what actually happened here. It says in an article by the Daily Mail that was published yesterday, 5:25 p.m., the 3rd of August, 2 Afghan asylum seekers have been charged over the alleged rape of a 12-year-old girl, which has left a small Midlands town reeling in shock, the Mail on Sunday can reveal. Ahmad Mulak 23, has been charged with the rape of the underage girl in Warwickshire. A second man, Mohammed Kabir, also 23, has been charged with aiding and abetting rape, as well as strangulation and kidnap of the girl, who is now receiving specialist care. Despite the huge interest the incident has caused, sources have told the Mail on Sunday that Warwickshire police advised local councillors and officials not to reveal the asylum seeker background of the two suspects for fear of inflaming community tensions. This is one of the main effects of the disastrous multiculturalist experiment that Britain is undergoing at the moment, because the police should care about one thing, about enforcing the law, and that manifests in guarding individual and public safety. The last thing it should think of is about accusations of racism, especially when they come from leftists who are saying that if you don't subscribe to Mao's beliefs or Marxist-Leninism, you're a racist by definition. This has no place in a civilized social order. The police should care, again, about protecting individual and public safety. And one of the major distortions of our society today is that of the dog whistle of racism. All the time, the police is afraid to not be called racist, and this leads into less policing and less safety and less freedom, because not only do they not guard society as they should, and not only do they not guard public safety as they should, because they're ordered not to, we are also not allowed to criticize the government that orders the police to act in such a manner. We are constantly being told that criticizing the government is hate speech, and hate speech must be prosecuted because it doesn't have a place in a civil order. The way I see it, it's actually crimes such as these that don't have a place in civil society. And to the extent that all accusations of police racism help the police cover up, or not help the police, they help criminals from covering up their criminal activity, that should be completely destroyed. This has no place in civil society. This has no place in civil society. Right, so I have a post here and I try to express my thought in another way. A police force that is ordered to care more about being called racist than about securing individual and public safety is highly correlated with a state that treats the alleged right to not get deported as more important than the right to not get kidnapped, abused, and killed. And this is one of the really nerve-wracking effects of multicultural Britain at the moment, is that not only do we get constantly exposed to a very fatuous and empty rhetoric of human rights, it's so glaringly, so obviously selective that it's almost uniformly focused on protecting the alleged human rights of criminals, and is particularly uncaring when it comes to the violations of human rights of the victims. And let's face it, it's much more plausible to say that people have a right to not get sexually abused than saying that they have the right to unconditional free movement, and also the right to not get punished for wrongdoing, which is particularly bad. Let's say it's particularly thing. And we constantly see this. It's not just men. It's not men who we should be focusing on, because we see here a post by Rupert Lowe. It says, foreign sex offenders in British prisons, why are there any of them still in our country? And you see here that the number after 2021 rises significantly. And we see this as a trend throughout Europe. It's not just London or England. We see this as a trend throughout the EU especially. We see this in Germany, we see this in Denmark, we see this in France, we see this throughout Europe. And it says here, for instance, sexual offense, this is by Restore Britain, sexual offences in London by nationality and charges per 10,000. And you see that you have Afghanistan very much topping the list. 74.17 out of 10,000. So that's a particularly bad number. And it's not just in London, it's also throughout the country. Sexual assault by nationality, you have United Kingdom down very low, and top you have Afghanistan, Eritrea, and some particular countries. So that's the problem, is that let's just be honest, some countries don't respect physical integrity as other cultures. And the more we are focused on this disastrous and very silly rhetoric, according to which all cultures are equal, or all cultures are beyond criticism, or we should always criticize cultures from within their perspective, because otherwise it's evil whiteness and evil Westernness. All this is nonsense. All this is nonsense. The police should care about public safety and individual safety. It shouldn't care about any kind of overseeing of racial relations or international relations according to every bureaucrat that happens to be in government that very day, who wakes up and wants to be in their mind, the good Samaritan, and saying that I'm going to enforce my view of the race relations on the entire population of Britain, and I'm not going to care about all the basic customs and institutions that have shaped the country, but also the modern world, according to which the main job of the police is to guard public and individual safety. That's number one. It's not overseeing the racial tension, the desired racial relations of whoever happens to be the governing bureaucrat at that day. And let us focus on the last bit to talk about, is that the more these things become visible, the more there is going to be reaction. So de-escalation is needed, but the main share of responsibility, the burden of the responsibility right now, burdens the shoulders of the UK government. They need to act, they need to listen to the population, they need to listen to the British people. They need to also look at adverse consequences where the public isn't also particularly awoken. They need to be also preemptively acting, because let's face it, a lot of the things the public is unaware of, or it's aware of in a way that is twisted because it constantly comes through an information flow that comes from establishmentarian voices who are filtering the message. So what needs to happen is that all these adverse effects right now need to be taken care of by the government. The government needs to act in order to prevent this situation from becoming a powder keg and from escalating. But some of the things that we do see here is increased social tension, and also the perceived necessity for a police state, for a rising Leviathan state in a Hobbesian manner. Why do I say this? I don't want a police state. I don't want an absolutist state. I don't want a state that will say I need more and more and more power in order to liaise between social strife. The solution isn't to opt for that state, as much as some bureaucrats will doubtlessly love the power that comes with it. The solution is to do something about the increased social tension that comes with this particularly badly overseen and designed multiculturalist experiment that Britain is undergoing at the moment. All the dog whistles, according to which trying to be sensible is racism, they shouldn't be listened to. They're a diversion. And let us just remember one thing, because a lot of the times we constantly hear about the right to respect for private and family life from the ECHR. Lots of people are saying that foreign sex offenders shouldn't be deported because there's the ECHR, and especially the Article 8. Now, if you read Article 8, it doesn't say anything to the effect of supporting an unconditional right to not get deported. It's all conditional on the public safety. That the job of the police is to oversee public and individual safety and guard the public, but also protect people's rights. It's not to oversee the desired racial relations or desired social relations among different cultures that a bureaucrat who happens to govern at a particular time wants to enforce on other people in order to promote their political agenda.